Have you ever wondered if there was some magical part of you that you've been unable or afraid to access? Have you ever felt or been told you're crazy? Here's a thought to ponder. What if you're not? What if every imaginary friend, every letter to Santa Claus, every fairy or elf you saw as a child was your inner self reaching out to the spiritual world? What if your blocks are really a bridge? What if your wounds are really your windows? What if all your anxiety and your trauma are there to elevate you to something greater than yourself? I'm here to tell you, you're not crazy, you're connected. Hear from the rock stars of the New Age world about that moment when they stepped into their power and how you can step into yours too. Here on Crazy Connected with your host, Bridget Ly. Welcome to this episode of Crazy Connected. We have a real treat for you today. A good friend of mine, an amazing life coach. She's out here close to the area where I am on Long Island, the eastern end of Long Island, and is just an incredible soul and a beautiful, beautiful person. Welcome, Lauren Aiyana.
Thank you so much for having me.
I feel like I say like Lauren Aiyana. I was like, Lauren Aiyana. You are an amazing gift in my life recently. We've only just gotten to know each other recently. And we really connected on Crazy Connected and beforehand. So, what we like to do here is really talk about what life was like before you arrived on your chosen path and what, growing up, I mean, for me in particular, it was like seeing something, hearing something, that where I went to my dad and I was like, I see this, I hear this, and him saying, don't ever tell anybody that you saw or heard voices or saw spirits because they will put you away. And that was that was like the most terrifying thing I could think of. And I know that you have like a very intense origin story. So if you just as much as you feel comfortable sharing with us, Lauren, please.
Sure. Thank you. Well, I feel like from as early as I can remember, I felt pretty energy sensitive. And I would say that I had a good conscious awareness in myself when I was very young. I would sense energy, but more than that, I would really feel people in a soul reality. But I didn't really know how to put that into words or necessarily know how to articulate that in the fullness of communication, obviously, because I was very young.
'Cause you were a little kid.
Yeah,
Right.
I was very young. And my parents, they had, like some dysfunction in their relationship. My dad was quite aggressive and angry, had some unresolved things, trying the best that he could, but a lot of unresolved stuff there. And my mom, she was experiencing a lot of depression and kind of like stifled and blocked in her ability to connect. And so for me, being quite sensitive, I think it made me anxious very early on.
It exacerbated. Yeah. I know the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing that kind of came up for me when I was little is that they started wondering if I had ADHD. And so I worked with a lot of different like childhood development therapists and things like that. They put me on medication quite early on. And for a period of time, that's what I was going through, at the same time trying to get a hold of what was the big purpose in my life, why was this my family, kind of like having those conscious thoughts, but at the same time trying to navigate just like the 3D worldly terrain.
Right.
And so little by little things, I think the dysfunctionality in my family progressed. And I started to get a bit more vocal as I was getting older, mainly just for my dad to be kinder to my mom and like, just trying to set things as they are and
Trying to make a change.
Yeah, trying to make a change and organize things in a way that felt functional, not disconnected from each other or people unable to communicate, where issues were just really taking hold in the family. And for some reason, at a very young age, I felt like that was my responsibility and what I needed to do.
Right.
So long story short, I just found myself kind of like cycling through this, I guess, middleman situation with my family. And then my dad was his disciplinarian ways. He didn't, necessarily love that I was talking back to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found myself in different kinds of like boarding schools or, teen behavioral kind of things, and
Wow.
which has its whole industry.
See, what I'm thinking while you're saying this is you have so much to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, that is so amazing. What kind of kept you, I don't want to say sane because the show is Crazy Connected, but what sort of kept you focused and kept a kind of like a sacred boundary around you while you were going through these like therapeutic schools?
Yeah, I would say that there was a mixture of some moments. I just, for lack of a better term, I just really, really felt my own soul. And I always felt this bigger perspective around me. Sometimes I could tangibly know that wisdom within myself. And sometimes it was just on the outskirts of my being, this awareness that there's a purpose behind this, like maybe there's karma at play, there's a greater divine design about certain things. And so that in one part was a huge force and presence within my life. And then there were certainly moments that I was like with that shadow part and kind of burning through the issues or the unknowing, or just when trauma is playing itself out and you feel like you're exacerbated and you're in that space. So my childhood had a mixture of those kind of components.
I just want to touch on what you said about kind of dharma,
Sure.
which is basically, and it's a hard thing to believe in, especially when we're talking about abuse or trauma, that, that some people believe we choose to come into this life and we choose our parents. We choose for our soul to enter our body in that form. And it can be both terrifying and also very empowering to see like, what is my mission? What is my mission? And why did I choose this? And it's a horrible thing. Some people would say, well, there's children who are abused and there's children, whatever. But I think you have to either believe it or not believe it. So do you believe that you came into your body as a soul seeking this life to learn or to teach?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say in the younger years, like I said, it was kind of that mixture of feeling consciously connected. And then it was also kind of suffering the process of my own growth and transformation. I wouldn't say that it was just all negative because It was, I think, divinely designed. And so absolutely, as I've come into my teenage years, 20s, 30s now, I feel like I have that profound awareness that my spirit definitely synced up with certain experiences and with my parents to master something. There's like the negative part that if you go through a certain challenge and it brings forth your light and it brings forth your capacity to love and your capacity to understand and your capacity to forgive or have empathy, that's a profound thing. And then the positive part of that you can master is like your own virtues, your own integrity, your own light, to really help other people grow and recognize that within themselves. So being able to mirror a sense of purpose or a sense of positive potential. So I'd say that it's like, metal has to be heated up for it to become iron, and
right.
It's being forged.
Right. And I couldn't agree more. I literally was just having this conversation with somebody else about, if everything is always okay, there really isn't room for growth. We don't grow because well, some people do, but like, oh, I think I want to grow. No, we usually grow because we're having to let go of something that has frickin' claw marks in it.
Serious. Yeah.
We grow through the pain. I mean, that's where the spiritual growth comes from that. It's like, I mean, there are the saints and the prophets and the, whatever, and the deities or the minor deities who sought without needing the fire, that you described with metal. But most of us need that kick in the ass. We do. And, as painful as it is, it does bring us to a place of growth. So what was sort of your hero's journey? Like, at what moment did you say, I'm not crazy, I'm connected?
Yeah, well, I went in and out a lot of different places within this like troubled teen industry. And so from the ages of like 9 to 18, I was solidly in different places. And each one kind of had their different style, their different way of going about things. Some were kind of light and hippie-like, some were like really heavy and dark. And there was this one place that I went to where they had a whole bunch of rules, and it was very structured, like in a behavioral kind of therapy way. And I was about 12 years old at this time. And they had these like kind of point chart systems set up for people that was like, if you have this good level of behavior and you kind of follow what we say and do exactly what we want you to do for this period of time, you can like win a prize or something, or you can have this reward. And all of my young kid friends would be like, oh, I want to like go play this video game, or I want to do a phone call with my friends, or I want to do this or that. And I would always ask, like, I just want to go sit outside and I want to like really be able to absorb the air and like take a walk and just reflect. And
wow,
then,
a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like, but it wasn't just the sense of like, oh, I want like the freedom of outside. It was more, I really want to connect with nature because I feel like it's speaking to me. And I feel like recharged spiritually, So I would say it started very young, and then just the question of like, why am I living this? Kind of surrounded by other reflections of different people that are going through different pains. And I always felt like my case was much lighter than all of theirs.
Oh, yeah, because you were in that environment. So kids were probably had
Yeah.
even worse origin stories and not the same tools. Was there a book or a movie or something that set you on this, or that was helping to any kind of resources during that time that really spoke to you?
When I was 15, it was at a different place, one of the lighter places. It kind of was like super heavy when I was young, and then it got progressively lighter in the types of schools that I was at. And I think it was because, like, I don't know, maybe people were starting to listen that this was not really a good match for who I am. And so there was this one place that I went to when I was 15, and they did a lot of nature things. They actually did sweat lodges with the youth, and it was kind of hippie-like, in a way, for lack of a better term.
No, I know what you mean. It was crunchy.
Yeah, very, very crunchy, a crunchy, like, group therapy kind of place. And we had like garden crews.
That's the place I want to send my troubled grandchildren.
Yeah.
One day, goals. Hashtag goals, Bridget. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that was profound.
Yeah.
I remember one day, me and a couple of my friends, we decided that we wanted to do yoga together. So we did like 2 hours of yoga together every day, and there was 500 acres of land behind where one of the schools was. So we used to like, after class, we would take our shoes off and just like run like along the river.
Wow.
And it was just like very powerful to feel like, when I look back on my life, just to see how I was progressively kind of like burning through certain karmas within myself. And then, it got lighter. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So we've got you up to the age of 15 at this point.
Yes.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, if this is uncomfortable, then, you're always welcome to say you don't feel like talking about that right now.
Sure.
But did drugs and alcohol play a role in maybe kind of tamping down your spirit or your connection? Did you want to, because between 12 and 15, we really want to fit in. I mean, we
Sure.
can't help it. That's just part of the human condition, so we don't get tossed out of the cave.
Absolutely.
So did you either through peer pressure or just to put a tamper down on the spiritual feelings that you were connecting to, did you turn to any sort of, I don't know, anything?
Yeah. So,
Because so many of us do. That's why, I mean, I did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I graduated all those places like when I was 18, and you're right, from 15 to 18, I was dabbling in substances, and I hadn't really been super exposed to them because I was in all these schools and they have very strict rules about
Of
things.
course, yeah.
So there was 1 year that I used several different hard substances, and thankfully, like, I never did like heroin or meth or anything, but I did like psychedelics, and I did drinking, I did a good amount of drinking. And it was just for 1 year, but it was enough that I felt like it was a lot, for myself.
Yeah.
And then after that, I decided that I didn't want that to be part of my life. So now I've been sober for 20 years. And
you're so self-aware. I mean, that is what you're not in the room with me, but Lauren just exudes this like amazing, I almost want to say maternal. I know you're not a mother, but you have like that earth mother, beautiful, just this calm energy. I totally feel that you're connected to nature
thank
and
you.
and herbs and all of that. So what got you started on the path to bring this self-awareness to other people? Because you could have done anything. You could have could be working at McDonald's, or you could
Yeah.
you could be an entrepreneur running your own business, a Fortune 500 business. I mean, there's such a spectrum of where we choose to cubbyhole ourselves in terms of work. Did you work something else before you became a life coach? Did you like hold a quote unquote a regular job?
Yeah, no, actually. So when I was 18, I went to massage school and I studied herbalism, massage, and energy healing all at the same time that year. And since I was 18 to now I'm 37, I've only worked for myself ever as a practitioner.
What a gift.
So I've only been self-employed. And I'll share this one thing that's pretty cool because I think it was a catalyst that got me interested in being connected more with nature, spirituality, and things. I was 15, and it was in this, alternative kind of hippie-esque, crunchy boarding school.
Right.
And we had a Native American elder come and speak with all the kids, and I really appreciated that because it was introducing different elements of, perspective to understand ourselves. And he was going around the room and saying to everybody like what he thought their like spirit animal was.
Yeah.
And there was maybe a group of 100 of us. And when he got to me, he was like, "You stand up and come into the center of the circle." And I was like, "Me?" And so I stood up, and he was like, "Your spirit animal is a deer." And he was like, "You have to master like elegance and grace within yourself to be free and not feel like you're stuck in the spotlight of things you can't control." So I felt like that really, I don't know, like was a confirmation of my spirit to embrace what I already always felt and not let the hardships that I had been through like stun me or shock me or freeze me, but instead to like move through my life with that sense of grace.
I have to, I mean, I didn't know this before now.
Yeah.
You know that the deer is my spirit animal.
Oh, really?
Where
Oh my
deers-
gosh.
I have it on, I have a
Wow.
tattoo on my back.
Aw.
That was the animal that was gifted to me
Wow.
by my shaman.
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
I was like, really, a freaking deer? Like we call them rats with antlers here on Long Island. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
A freaking deer? Those dumb.
Yeah.
And then I got to know about the noble spirit and everything that you just said. But when you were just saying that, I was like, oh my God, crazy connected. That's amazing. Of course course you're a deer. That's so beautiful. And I'm sure since then other animals have come to you.
Sure.
And I think that probably, maybe a coping mechanism. I know that for me and for just any child who might feel alone, and I talk about it in my introduction, is like we have imaginary friends. We talk to nature, we talk to the animals because we need to surround ourselves with positive spirits when we're going through something that might be termed negative in our real life, and that sounds like this was such a gift, this place you went to, and I want the name of it after when we're done. I want to know about if this place is still around. I want to go there. So Lauren Aiyana, this is just an amazing conversation. Tell me about today, like what you do now and how you bring your light to the world and how you help others find theirs.
Sure. So all these things that I went through, it was very concentrated in my youth. And really, once I turned 18 and I set out on my own path, I truly haven't had really any experiences that have been really, really intense like that. A lot of my friends or people that I know, clients, they say that they went through shocking things in their adult years. Thankfully, I really haven't, but I got it all done when I was in my youth.
You wash your hands.
Oh my God, I got a master's degree in trauma.
School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, overcoming trauma. So I think it fast track developed me when I was young, and really in my 20s, I think I was processing it a lot. And now in my 30s, I've just been, I think, shining that with the world and just working with clients, helping them in their journey of personal discovery and showcasing to people that insight, it's more than just our mental and emotional process, but it's also in our spiritual growth process. So that's been something that, I've really been focusing on in my adult years. And I also am very spiritual in my connection with nature. I also feel really connected to Christ, and that's been something very powerful for me, is the Mother Earth and Christ.
Yeah. Well, when we go down to Costa Rica, Eric and I, we have this sounds so spoiled, but we have a gardener guy, and he's, they're very, very Christian there, very Catholic country, but he still uses the moon to plant. He's no, I can't plant that because the moon cycle is off, and this is, so there's this connection to the mother and to the son. Or the Father, the Trinity. So, I'm not Christian. I'm not any organized religion, and I'm 61, my friend.
Yeah.
So I'm twice your age almost.
Yeah.
But in recent years, I've really, Jesus has come to me as an ascended master, not as, not as the top of any religion or pyramid or whatever, but he's come to me and in the white robe with his, pulling it open over his heart and pointing to his heart, and I was like, oh, it's the Sacred Heart of Jesus. I get it, Sacred Heart, all those Catholic girls' schools, from the porn. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But I'm so I know I'm disrespectful, but I can't help it. I have to be. I disrespect everything. Monty Farber, who's one of the guests on this show, he says if you can't laugh, it's not sacred.
Yeah.
You have to be able to laugh.
Yeah.
And I love that you have so much laughter and everything. But yeah, so you're a follower of Christ, and when you were at your lowest, let's say, when you really were at one of these schools and you felt so alone, who came to you?
Well, I felt like it was the Divine Mother and Mother Earth. It was the ancestor spirits. I felt, the caretakers of the earth. And so that set me on a shamanic path. I do have formal studies in shamanic practices. I've studied with a man named Mama Nuishuan, he's an amazing healer from Colombia. And so I've worked deeply with him for about 18 years, and that really impacted me a lot in my humanitarian work. I've worked a lot with Native communities, of all different kinds of backgrounds. And so that has been something that's also helped developed my sensibility with energy reading, perception, spiritual communication. And truly, I've had that my whole life,
Right.
but I've just learned how to hone in on it as an adult now going through these things. And with Christ, I feel like I actually resonate with you as far as like not necessarily it being like religious for me.
Oh, people used to say the word Christ and I would like clam
Yeah.
up. I was suddenly terrified, you know?
Yeah, but
Being
it's-
half Jewish as well, so yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's more just like a conscious resonance, I think, and like
Yeah.
everyone has their journey of who comes to them and who helps. And that was just my path and who came to help me.
that's so beautiful. So if people want to talk to you or learn more, what is the best way? Tell me about the light thread.
Yeah, absolutely. So me and my best friend, Noemi Ditzler, we have a company together called The Light Thread. She has a background in fashion, and I obviously have my background in life coaching and energy work. And we wanted to create a company that we can offer people one-on-one life coaching, meditation, energy healing. And then seasonally, we do like private events for groups of women for self-empowerment and, you know, self-love.
Beautiful.
And it's thelightthread.com, and then we're also The Light Thread on Instagram. And if you Google me, you'll be able to find me too.
I can tell that you feel a little uncomfortable when you have to like put yourself out there, and I know you as a friend, but but first I was like, oh, I'm getting the energy that
Yeah.
no, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
like good. You're bringing light to the world. This world needs more Lauren Aiyana's.
Oh, thank you.
Really. I mean,
Yeah.
you just seem to me like you came into this world as like, you know, a beautiful flame spirit, you know, and that no matter how much trauma or therapeutic schooling or whatever you were sent on, your mission was so clear at birth and you never lost sight of it. Like you still have it and you still have so much time with us.
Thank
Your journey is just, you know, not over by any means. So Lauren, I want to thank you so much for coming on Crazy Connected. If you could go back to the 12-year-old Lauren, you know, what would be the best piece of advice you would give her?
Follow your heart. Don't lose sight of your purpose, and everything's going to come together amazingly. That's what I would say to her.
Well, I hope that that's the message for everyone listening today. Believe in yourself. Thank you, Lauren, so much for coming on Crazy Connected.
Thank you. Lots of love. Thank you.